Hey guys, it's Mari here, and I have another episode of Guess Who I Lifted. And I am going to be working with this photograph that I printed, and I think it's 2.8 by 2.8. Now, the reason why it has a really soft filter on it is because that is pretty typical of this scrapbooker that I'm lifting today. I'm not actually lifting a specific layout per se. I did a bunch of research and kind of really took a good look at a lot of different work that this scrapbooker has done, and I've tried to emulate her style, not necessarily lifting one specific layout. So I've kind of combined a bunch of different ideas and techniques and so on from a variety of her projects. And so what I'm doing here is I'm just layering up the photograph here. And this is one of the things that you definitely would see the scrapbooker do in a 12 by 12 layout. So I'm just using some different sizes of printed or pattern paper here to create my photo mat. This scrapbooker is someone that you would be able to take a class from at Studio Calico, Big Picture Classes. She is American. She is an amazing photographer. She was one of the garden girls at 2Ps. And unfortunately, that was when I took my hiatus from scrapbooking, when my kids were teenagers and we were at the rink and the dance center and everything else all of the time. And so I basically missed the 2Ps phase of scrapbooking. So I did, like I said, I did do quite a bit of research about this lady, and it was very inspiring. She really loves to use a clean white background, and her layouts and her projects are very soft and very lovely. And she often will do stitching on her layouts. Her journaling is quite often typed or word processed. And you might see circles often in her 12 by 12 layouts. This is another thing that I saw her doing in many of her projects, where she would take pieces of crepe paper and just make a little sort of a roughly little length of paper with them and stitch down the center. So I did that with this piece of tissue paper. I've seen her use those little wooden clothespins on some of her projects. And I often have seen doilies on her projects and really delicate cut files. She does a ton of project life and mini albums. And she actually, I found out in my research, was, before she had her children, a speech therapist. She's amazing. I love her work, and that's one of the things that I've really loved about this series, is that it has kind of, made me go in and do some research about where scrapbooking sort of came from. You would actually be really surprised. Scrapbooking has been around for hundreds of years, and the people that you would least expect were scrapbookers. I believe Mark Twain was a scrapbooker. Don't quote me on that. I didn't write that down. It just stuck in my head, and I think it's actually true. So you could double check that fact. So yeah, there's a real history to scrapbooking. Turns out it's not just 20 years old. It's been around for a long, long time. I was also really surprised when I did this, the research for this, or for the last few projects that I've done for this series. I've been really surprised at how many different techniques and things that I've seen in projects since I've been back scrapbooking in the last couple of years aren't original. They actually have been borrowed by some of these famous scrapbookers who've been around for 20 years or 15 years or whatever. And so here I thought, oh yeah, that's a really cool technique. And many of the techniques have been borrowed. And I think that's cool. I think that's interesting. I think that, as people create their own style and borrow different techniques from different people and so on and so forth, and incorporate them into their own things that they've kind of decided are their thing, and they create their style from that by incorporating other ideas and sort of evolving over time. So I think that's kind of neat. So I've just watered down some acrylic paint here. I added a tiny little bit of green to some white, and I wanted to make just some really, really faint splatters here in just a pale, pale green. And one of the things that I did notice about this scrapbooker is that she doesn't necessarily, although I did see some of her work did have more vibrant and bright colors, her projects tend to be, you know, more muted colors or lighter. Like I said, very, very soft and totally beautiful. So I'm just wanting some paint splatters in a really pale green, and I'm just doing that here using a really watered down acrylic paint. So I actually used a lot of products here from Maggie Holmes Style Board and Flea Market. I just went into my stash. I've got a big iris container in my craft room of scraps and odds and ends of ephemera and so on. And I just went in there and I found some pieces that I thought looked like something that the scrapbooker would love, or pieces that she would really like. And I just added those into the layout. So a lot of the pattern papers, like I said, are from Maggie Holmes, and I love them. They're so soft and a little bit vintage and distressed, and I just really love this look. I think it's gorgeous. The journaling that I did here is on some vellum, and the font that I used is it actually looks like a vintage typewriter font. And I'm just journaling about this day that Jordan and I were at the Eiffel Tower, and we took a selfie from the second platform on the tower, and you can just see Paris in the background there in the garden behind the tower. So I love this picture. The filter that I added was on PicMonkey. I can't remember which filter it was that I added, but it was just a really, really soft filter that really muted the photo without making it black and white. And it is a really great way to add a soft photograph to your layout. And that's something that I noticed often in this scrapbooker's work. I also noticed that she often will print her photograph with a border around it, and not just a little skinny border, but quite often a fairly wide border. So I tried to emulate that here as well. Now, I'm sorry, I'm just working a little bit off camera there. I apologize for that. I'm just going to create a little bit of an embellishment down at the bottom just to balance that bottom part off. I have created kind of a diagonal eye flow there with those splatters. So I wanted to put that extra little cluster there at the bottom just to continue your eye from the bottom left-hand corner up to through the picture and to the top right hand corner. And I'm once again, like I said, just adding some Maggie Holmes ephemera there, and I am going to be almost finished here. I decided I would take just a couple of extra little pieces and add them here and there. So I took this little flower piece. It's that really, really thin chipboard from, I think it's the Flea Market collection, and I'm just adding that really pale yellow little flower there. And there's a little bit of yellow in the one patterned paper in the photo mat, so it kind of draws that yellow back in. And there's also a little bit of yellow on that little glittery tag that I'm just adjusting there in the bottom corner. So I really love how this turned out, and I just love the inspiration that I'm finding as I'm doing this Guess Who I Lifted series. It's been so much fun, and it's been really good for me as a scrapbooker to take a look at the styles of some other scrapbookers and some techniques, and see what I could incorporate into my style and into my scrapbooking. And it's been a great project for me, and I hope it's been inspiring for you too. And perhaps you are learning some things about some scrapbookers that maybe you didn't know before, or some different little techniques or things that you can incorporate into projects of your own. And so together we can all be inspired. Yay! That's the goal, right? So anyways, this was a lot of fun. I hope you can leave a comment below with your guess, and we will have another video next week for Guess Who I Lifted. So thanks so much for joining me today. I had a lot of fun with this, and I hope you have an amazing day. I'll see you next time for Guess Who I Lifted. Bye-bye.